I demand to speak to your supervisor. You have no right to tell me what to do with my property.
Teresa.
These citations are completely invalid.
Ma'am,
The red and blue lights hit the courthouse columns like a strobe at 7:12 a.m., and the cold air smelled like wet asphalt and burnt coffee from the kiosk across the street. I was halfway up the steps with a file folder under my arm when a woman in a leopard print blazer shoved herself in front of me and screamed that I was trespassing on her sidewalk. Her phone was already in her hand, camera pointed at my face, like she'd been waiting for this exact moment. The officer stepped out of his cruiser, hand resting near his belt, and the woman yelled louder, like volume was proof. "I will call the cops." I already did. She pointed at my shoes like they were contraband. "Sir," she said, "this is HOA property, and he needs to be removed right now." That's when the whole thing became the weirdest episode of my life, because the fight wasn't even about me standing there. It was about control. Karen stormed my courthouse steps sidewalk yelling, "I will call the cops," had no idea I am the code director, and I wish I was kidding. Her HOA ran the condos across the street, and she acted like the entire block belonged to her. She started rattling off made-up rules, like no lingering, no filming, no unauthorized entry, and she waved an orange folder like it was a badge. I kept my voice calm, because I was in a suit, in front of a courthouse, and I'm not trying to become a headline. "Ma'am, this is public property," I said. "I'm here for work." She snapped back, "Your work doesn't matter." My board voted. The officer looked confused, and I could tell he'd been called out here for something that already smelled like nonsense. I tried to reason, like a normal adult. I even offered to step aside so people could pass, even though I already was. She didn't want space. She wanted a win. A few neighbors from the condos stood at the curb, pretending to check their mail, but their eyes were locked on us. They looked scared, like they'd seen this movie before and didn't want to be the next target. I asked her what exact rule I was breaking, and she waved her hand like details were beneath her. The officer asked if she had proof the sidewalk was private, and she huffed and said the HOA pays for it. "That's not how that works," he said, careful and polite. She got red in the face and turned the phone toward him. "Tell him to leave. Tell him now." And when I said I wasn't leaving because I was literally scheduled for an 8 a.m. meeting inside, she hissed, "Then I'll report you every day until you learn." That last line did it. I felt my jaw tighten, but I swallowed it down. I don't do screaming matches on stone steps. I do paperwork, policies, and consequences. I told the officer I didn't want trouble, just a record of the call, and I walked inside like my heartbeat wasn't trying to punch through my ribs. The second the door shut behind me, I made a promise to myself, I'm going to handle this the right way, and I'm going to handle it all the way. No pranks. No threats. Just proper channels. Because what she did wasn't just rude. It was dangerous. False calls pull officers away from real emergencies. They can get people hurt. And I could already see she was the type who used the police like a remote control. Over the next 2 weeks, she kept her promise. I got 3 more trespass calls for standing on the same public sidewalk. One time was May 3, 2024, at 4:27 a.m., when I wasn't even there, and my phone buzzed with a voicemail from dispatch asking me to call back. Another was May 9, 2024, at 9 p.m., when I was at home in sweatpants watching a game. That's when I started building my case like it was my second job. I lined up photos, emails, and call logs in a binder. I requested body cam footage and incident reports the legal way, and I pulled property maps from the city website. Then I filed a public records request for every call tied to her name, her condo address, and her HOA email. When the file landed with 63 pages, I exhaled so hard I actually laughed. It wasn't just me. She'd called on delivery drivers, dog walkers, a teen on a skateboard, and a woman sitting on a bench with a stroller. Patterns of false reports can be prosecuted, and her pattern was loud and clear. I wrote it all out in plain words, because the truth doesn't need fancy language. Timeline item 1 April 5th at 4:27 a.m. false trespass call, I typed, even though it felt ridiculous to put a sunrise lie into an official timeline. Timeline item 2 May 3rd at 7:12 a.m. courthouse steps confrontation, officer arrived, no violation found. Timeline item 3 May 9th at 9 p.m. complaint made while I was home, proved by my building's camera log. I didn't guess. I didn't assume. I attached receipts. I added screenshots of her HOA emails where she bragged about keeping outsiders in their place. I took the binder to our city legal team and asked for guidance, because I wanted it airtight. They told me to do one more thing, set a meeting where she couldn't spin it. So I scheduled a code compliance workshop at the community room across the street and invited the whole condo building, plus the HOA board, plus the neighborhood association. Public. Recorded. Come. She walked in like a queen, smiling like she'd already won, and then she froze when she saw my name on the sign-in sheet. Not my first name. My full name and title. Code Director, City of ___________. The room went quiet in that thick, delicious way, like everyone sensed a storm about to flip. She laughed, fake and sharp, and said, "So you're the guy harassing our property." I stood up and kept my tone even. "Ma'am, I'm the person you've been calling the police on. And today we're going to talk about the difference between HOA rules and city law." Somebody in the back whispered, "Oh my gosh," and I heard a phone camera click on. I showed the map first. Public right-of-way, clearly marked. Then I showed the call records, dates and times, and the body cam clips where officers told her the same thing over and over. Her smile started to wobble. She tried to talk over me, but every time she raised her voice, people flinched like they remembered. One guy actually muttered, "Here we go again," and a few people snickered. Then the authority flip landed like a hammer. 2 officers came in, not to arrest her dramatically, but to do something worse for her ego, speak calmly while she melted down. One officer explained that repeated false reports waste resources and can lead to charges. The city attorney, who I'd invited quietly, explained she could be cited for misuse of emergency services and harassment if it continued. Karen's face went from red to pale in about 10 seconds. She tried to claim she was just being safe, but the body cam audio played her saying, "I'll report you every day until you learn," and the room made this long, low sound like a crowd at a school assembly. Someone laughed, not even mean, just stunned. A neighbor spoke up and said, "She called the cops on my dad for sitting outside." Another said, "She threatened my kid over chalk on the sidewalk." The HOA board members looked like they wanted to crawl under the folding table. One of them cleared his throat and said, We were not aware it was this bad." After that, everything got quiet in the best way. The police issued her a formal warning and a citation for the latest false call, and she was told any repeat would be treated as a pattern. The HOA board held an emergency vote the following week, and she was removed as president for conduct bringing negative attention to the association. She tried to post a rant online, but the comments were brutal because people had the clips. Neighbors started waving again. People who used to look down when they walked past each other finally made eye contact. A month later, I stood on those same courthouse steps at 7:12 a.m. with the same cold air and the same coffee smell, and nobody bothered me except a kid asking for directions to the bus stop. I pointed him the right way and felt this warm little spark in my chest, like the block belonged to everyone again. Please follow for more HOA showdowns like this. Do you think she got what she deserves? Comment below.